that it's designed as a dealer portal, because commonly a web-based configurator obviously needs additional functionality to be an actual dealer portal, but it could be a simple configurator that's web-based that a salesperson.
Growing a business requires a holistic approach that extends beyond sales and marketing. This approach needs alignment among people, processes, and technologies. So if you're a business owner, operations, or finance leader looking to learn growth strategies from your peers and competitors, you're tuned into the right podcast. Welcome to the WBS Podcast, where scalable growth using business systems is our #1 priority. Now, here is your host, Sam Gupta.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the WBS Podcast. I'm Sam Gupta, your host and principal consultant at the independent ERP and digital transformation consulting firm Elevate IQ. While most people might want to put ERP into generic categories such as make to order versus make to stock, you need a much deeper analysis to identify the right software packages. Even inside the engineer and make-to-order verticals, there could be nuances such as program management and contract compliance for the automotive verticals. Also, the companies that own the software might drive specific capabilities depending on their strategic alignment. So where does Glovia G2 stand today? And how does it differ from other automotive-centric software? In today's episode, we invited a panel of industry experts for a live discussion on LinkedIn to conduct an independent review of Glovia G2 ERP capabilities. We covered many grounds, including their strengths in the automotive capabilities and their evolution as a company. We also covered their weaknesses with their technology and why upgrading to the latest cloud capabilities might be a challenge for them. With that, let's get to the conversation. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's show. And if you are joining for the first time, this is part of our industry series for which we meet every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. We review one vendor or the solution. And for today, we have a very interesting solution. It's Glovia G2, G1. I don't know how many versions they have. Right now, I think it is G2. So we are going to have a lot of fun discussing that. Before we dig into the solution itself, we are going to start with everybody's intro. I am going to start with my intro. If you don't know me, Sam Gupta, principal at Elevate IQ. Elevate IQ is the independent ERP and digital transformation consulting firm. On that note, I am going to move to Dave for his intro.
Thanks, Sam. Hey, everybody. My name is Dave Chrysler, and I own an operations consulting business working with leaders in manufacturing and distribution and helping them to do process improvement, systemization. I'm with more than 20 years of various operational leadership roles, which included several ERP implementations. So excited to be here with you guys today.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Dave. Andy, can I ask you to introduce yourself next?
I would love to. Sam, thank you very much for inviting me. My name is Andy Pratico. I've been in the ERP business for manufacturers for longer than I want to remember, and I've worked all over North America. I've worked with probably over 1,000 manufacturers in my career. And I also have a published book on it helps companies to uncover the truth about ERP software before they buy. So thank you very much, Sam.
Thank you so much for being here, Andy. And if you're in the audience and joining for the first time, make sure you guys post your questions and comments. We typically try to cover them during the show. If we run out of time, we'll make sure that you receive your answers. So guys, I'm going to start with the quick briefing. And Andy, this particular solution, I'm pretty sure you have probably come across this one in the past, but it probably started around the same time when you started your career. Okay, so it's been there.
Hold on a second.
For a while, okay?
Yeah, no, I'm familiar with Glovia, but I'm not actually. I think I started well before Glovia ever started, to be honest.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes, I cannot count after 20 years,
Well, you got to take your socks and gloves off, though.
Yeah, Sam. I know. My imagination does not work, Andy, after that, okay? I can only think up to 20 years.
Yeah, only up to 10. Then you're then you're dead.
Exactly. So yeah, and I don't know if you're going to have any sort of jokes around the name as well. I don't know. Glovia is a very interesting name. I don't know what that means, to be honest. Do you guys have any references? No? It
Any
sounds very
reference to
lovey-dovey.
Glovia?
Yeah. The name itself, the word.
The story. Well, I mean, I know a fellow that used to work with them. I think I'll leave my opinions until we look at some screens and have some debate on that. But
Yeah, so I'll give you a quick background, and Andy, obviously, you are going to have some background there as well in terms of whatever you have come across as far as the solution goes. So they have had quite a bit of journey in general, okay? So they were very well known in the automotive space. Automotive aftermarket is where their real play is. The solution itself is extremely deep in functionality, especially for the automotive sector. It has exchanged a lot of different hands. Okay, so I think, and we are going to see the references in a lot of different lights as well. Fujitsu is they are a Japanese company. They used to own this solution. My understanding of their business model is they are more into the electrical electronics distribution manufacturing sort of space, and this was a very similar move as a lot of different manufacturers wanted to own the solution. So typically the exit strategy for the solutions is going to be that, okay, either you are going to be owned by a private equity or one of the corporate houses, and sometimes these corporate houses are going to buy because obviously they are thinking that they are going to be selling a lot of software. So one of the things that we have noticed, not only in this one, I guess we noticed this in the case of, if I remember, ERP Next. One of their biggest customer was also their investor. So in this particular case as well, you are probably going to notice similar trend that Fujitsu was using them big time, at least in North America. Obviously, that's a very big company, but I believe they ended up selling it. So right now, this solution is owned by a company called Constellation Software, I believe. I don't know whether you guys are familiar with them or not. They are a humongous company. Okay, and they are a Canadian company, Andy. Okay, and their business model is very similar to your Infor, Aptine, ECI. You would never come across them, I guess, just because my understanding is that their business model was more into the construction space. They did a lot of work in general in the construction space, but now they are probably moving to manufacturing as well. So this is a recent acquisition, I guess. They acquired in 2022, and they have a company called FOG Software. Okay, that's where they are sort of rolling these vertical solutions. So it's a very interesting move. And overall, from the corporate strategy perspective, they are coming across as very similar to your ECI, Aptine, Infor. The way these companies are approaching the market, that their goal is going to be to buy legacy software and then provide really fancy branding. Don't change anything in the software. Keep it legacy. Don't invest in R&D, and try to sort of get the deals. And I don't know if their business model also is going to be of support. So very similar mindset, very similar strategy, that they are trying to invest a lot in the marketing branding, but not necessarily in the product. So overall, from the product perspective, it is going to be still very legacy. So even though you are going to find extremely deep functionality for the automotive sector, and we have reviewed a lot of different packages from the automotive sector, and surprisingly enough, some of the feature sets you are going to find in Glovia, they are going to be much deeper. That's just shocking because Glovia in general does not have as much market share as some of the other software, and their target customer is not going to be as big as QAD, Plaxis of the world, right? But still, it is functionally extremely deep. So in terms of the competitors, I guess the competitors we are talking about are going to be your QAD, Plex, Infor-LN, IQMS. What else am I missing here in the auto?
You mean competing with Glovia? You mean?
Yeah.
You mean companies the size that would be interested in Infor-LN? Yeah, it seems rather big actually, but you probably know better than I do.
Infor-LN obviously is a very large solution, but even Glovia has been installed in some very large companies.
Is that right? Okay.
That is what is shocking.
Okay.
And we are going to see some of those references that, no, I mean, they have been installed in very large companies. Obviously, this is a very legacy solution. I don't think they have invested anything in the cloud, so they are probably going to be most behind in the cloud. In general, when you look at most of the automotive solution, they tend to be larger for some reason. I don't know why. But they all, whether you talk about Plex, QAD, they are not a small solution. They typically have the multi-entity functionality built as part of the solution itself. It might not be as rich as Infor-LN. Infor-LN is going to be far more ahead in the cloud than the other solution. Other solutions might still have mainframe running in the back end that nobody knows, nobody talks about.
Fake cloud?
Sorry, what's that?
Would you mean fake cloud?
Yeah, and and sometimes,
you coined that phrase,
I know, but
nobody else.
How fake are we talking about? Is the question.
Fake cloud. That's the Sam Gupta copyright right there.
Yeah, hopefully I can copyright that. I don't think that's possible, but I would love to do that. Yeah. So obviously, some of these solutions are not going to be as technically strong. Glovia is probably going to be the most behind in general. One of the other things that you're going to find with Glovia is they also have Glovia.com. In general, the e-commerce integration, especially if you talk about the aftermarket space, the e-commerce integration is very tricky. And these guys are able to provide that e-commerce integration out of the box, which is a big deal in general in the aftermarket space, because you are carrying many different sort of solutions in the aftermarket space. The field service functionality is going to be very strong. And surprisingly enough, Glovia has everything, which is just shocking. Yeah. And did I mention the number of installations? They have roughly, 1,000 installations? Yeah, which is decent, actually. I mean, I never thought that.
Yeah. Well, I think I think they're like you were saying, it's more of a legacy system, and I'm not sure how much they've been putting into R&D over the last 5-10 years, but I think between 2000 and 2010, they were thought of as a player.
Yeah, and honestly speaking, I mean, I don't think Fujitsu invested anything. They tried to run their own company on this platform, and then they ended up selling. So obviously they are not committed. They probably realized later on how much money is required in maintaining and rewriting the software, especially if you talk about cloud. Yeah, so it's a very interesting move. What else did I not cover, Dave, that we typically cover as part of the brief?
I think you got it. Nothing comes to mind, Sam. I think you got it.
Okay. Do you guys have any comments? Anything else to add there, or shall I move to the slides?
Let's go to the slides.
Okay. Perfect. So here, I think one of the things that I did not mention is the Crescent One. Crescent One is the name of the company, which is not as well known as Glovia G2, which is far more popular. So the name of the solution is Glovia G2. The company name is Crescent One. And even today, Wikipedia still says that they are owned by Fujitsu, and I don't know how true that is, because I think they don't own it anymore. The other thing that I did not mention is Glovia G2. So typically in the automotive market, most of the solutions are either trying to target the OEM, tier 1, tier 2. They all are going to have different business model. Sometimes even tier 1, tier 2, let's say if you are more of a plastic supplier versus the sort of the metal part supplier, they are going to have slightly different business model in general. So sometimes solutions target those plastic-centric manufacturers. Some are going to be targeting the real part manufacturer. But for the most part, the quality compliance processes, the forecasting processes are going to be fairly similar. So in general, the solutions that are going to be designed for automotive, you are going to find a lot more pre-baked supply chain functionality, which is going to be S&OP processes built as part of the solution. That whole vendor collaboration, the vendor integration is all going to be there because they have to do joint forecasting. So it's a very interesting, space in general. Most of the vanilla ERP would probably struggle in this space. We are going to see some very unique layers of ETO. And Andy, I know we have spoken a lot about engineer to order. Engineer to order could vary a lot as well in different industries. So here they are talking about aerospace, defense, automotive, electronics, capital equipment, make to order, engineer to order, high volume manufacturing. These are very similar industries. If you read the marketing material for Infor, LN, even Avicor Kinetic, I think they are going to probably claim, similar industry. They are definitely going to be, QAD is probably slightly different. I don't think they target aerospace defense. And we are going to be touching on layers where they differ. These industries are going to be similar to Plex. Plex likes to target the automotive. They typically don't touch contract manufacturing as much. Sometimes they struggle. They don't have all manufacturing types baked as part of the solution. And I don't know why they are not able to build this, but these guys have a lot of functionality baked as part of the product itself. Here, they started in roughly 1970. Andy, when did you start your career? 1950?
1923.
1923. Okay, that's pretty
Yes,
close.
it was right near the Depression and World War One. Yeah,
exactly.
I was working for a manufacturer of biplanes.
Biplanes. Okay.
Yeah.
And how was it? Compared to today's recession and depression, Andy? Was it comparable?
No, that was bad.
That was bad.
That was a bad one. That was a very bad one.
Yeah, now I at least know how bad looks like.
No, I started in 1981.
So these guys have been there in the market for a very long time, 1970. And I believe QAD probably around the same time, I guess. I mean, QAD has been in the market.
They've been around forever too, yeah.
Yeah. By the way, they used to be called Xerox Computer Services, and I don't know where this...
Xerox Chess.
Exactly. So I don't know where these names are coming from, but they could be very confused. Because obviously Xerox is a very large corporation.
Maybe they were just trying to copy somebody.
They were trying to copy somebody.
That was a pun. Sam.
They were trying to copy Andy. I got it. I got this one.
That was my joke. That was my humor for the day.
Oh my goodness. And by the way, MEC, they probably copied Fog software as well. I don't know where Fog is coming from.
I don't know what that is.
Okay, so I guess there is a little confusion there because, up top it says Fujitsu, but then here it is saying Fog software in 2021. So there is a little disconnect. Maybe Wikipedia is not really updated. Okay, I don't have anything else here. Unless you guys have. Okay, so let's touch on this. And by the way, Andy, I think one of the things that we did not talk is the configurator. They have configurator too. Can you believe this? They have a lot. And configurator is going to be very, very, very common in the aftermarket. If you don't have configurator, probably you will not be able to do business there. Because when you talk about the pure play aftermarket companies, they are not only carrying the parts for their OEM, they are carrying pretty much for everybody in the market. And if you don't have, even if you talk about internal configurator, and I don't know whether this configurator is going to be internal, external. My assumption is going to be this is probably external because they do have Glovia.com. And by the way, Andy, I'm not sure if you are going to see this as fun, but they did try to acquire a company called Glovia OM or OS, okay? And they were part of Salesforce ecosystem. I don't know whether they
really.
Yeah. So, and I don't know if that is what is Glovia.com. There is a possibility. So again, I don't know where you would put the fake category because when you are going to see the demo, you are probably going to see and if you search on YouTube Glovia, then you are going to see a lot of demo of that product which is built on top of Salesforce. And my understanding is going to be that's going to be more of the OMS e-commerce platform, and then you have ERP in the background. So I don't know who owns what, but there is a lot of confusion overall with respect to the names of the products. So here, Crescent One Configurator provides 5-star with a web-based product configurator. Obviously, now they are very clear there that it's web-based to quote, sell, and deliver their complex products effectively and in a timely manner.
It very carefully does not say that it's designed as a dealer portal because commonly a web-based configurator obviously needs additional functionality to be an actual dealer portal, but it could be a simple configurator that's web-based that a salesperson can.
In this particular case, I think they are definitely going after a lot of aftermarket companies, and I can almost guarantee this, Andy, that they are positioning it as dealer portal.
A dealer portal, okay.
Yeah, 100%. And I have seen a lot of companies using this. I don't know how much they like it. Typically these companies come to us when they are outgrowing Glovia. They want slightly superior experience. So we have seen Glovia being used, and I don't know, whether they were on G2, G1, whatever. But, we have definitely seen Glovia being used as ERP as well as the configurator e-commerce portal. So they are definitely strong there. By the way, one of the things that I definitely want to highlight is they also used to sit on top of SAP, which could be tricky, and I can almost guarantee that they are going to be.
For what purpose? To be a simpler system to use for manufacturers, or?
Well, so when you go to these larger companies, Andy, and this is how even Plex started, they were more of the operational system because SAP was harder to use. So they would use this at the subsidiary level. And even today, when you look at those larger logos, I think they are being used at the subsidiary level. They are not going to be running the books of, the large OEMs, large automotive manufacturers. It's going to be at the subsidiary level. They might have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, something like that, depending upon who's driving the deal. They might not like SAP there just because they don't get the operational capability that these plans are looking for. And that's how, and again, the Plex has very similar business model. And that's why they had to figure out, how to sit on top of SAP. I don't know if they develop the accounting functionality later on. That could be a case. But for the most part, these guys were really strong in the operational capabilities, not necessarily in the financial.
Well, I guess does this logo Fujitsu imply that they use Glovia?
They definitely do, because they used to own it, right? That's what I'm.
Oh, okay.
They used to own it, so they have to use it.
Gotcha. Okay.
They don't have a choice. I think that's why they bought it, I guess, because rather than building custom, sometimes they feel that, I'm going to be using it for myself, and then I'm also going to be selling. And typically when you are large OEM, and Fujitsu obviously is a very large company, and one of the leverage that you have as the OEM is that I can push on all of my suppliers.
Yeah.
So that's what they were trying to do, but then they figured out that, maybe now I need to create a new business, which is very, very, very hard to manage, software business. So here they are saying, supplier to the automotive industry in North America. So they are the supplier, one of the world's leading developer and producers of innovative audio, digital, and other electronic products for consumer business and industry. So that's why you are seeing a lot of layers of the electronics, and electrical manufacturing in general is very different compared to the other suppliers that you are going to be supplying to automotive. So you have these metal suppliers that are supplying to automotive. You have the plastic supplier, and then you have the electronic supplier, which is a very different manufacturing in general. So here they are saying they had roughly 800 users on this one. So 800 users, some locations in US. 600, yeah, maybe 600. You're right. And then if you look at the solution, they are saying Glovia.com was selected as their single enterprise solution. I think, I think they bought this because of the Glovia.com, because of the commerce experience. And sometimes that's how they can get in. So they are saying that, this was the enterprise solution, but it's not really ERP. It's the commerce part that was their enterprise. And maybe they launched commerce only for certain subsidiary where they are going to be selling the parts. So it's not for everything. Yeah. So I think the e-commerce was the play. Now, some more commentary here. This is also coming from another case study that they have on their site. They are talking about seamless integration with the rest of Glovia.com suite. So they are talking about Glovia.com. Again, I don't know where Glovia.com comes from. I don't know if this is the acquisition that they did from the Salesforce system. That could be the case. And if that is the case, then obviously they are very slick, at least from the Glovia.com perspective, not the ERP. You might never see ERP during the demo.
Those darn salespeople.
I know, right, Andy?
I know.
Okay, so here the shopping cart interface supports the entire order entry. So now, Andy, to your question, whether this is going to be dealer portal or not,
sure.
So now this is very self-service. They are talking about, and in this case study as well, they actually bought Glovia.com. by managing customer order addition and maintenance, as well as simplifying order entry with a searchable product database so users can find products they need quickly and easily. Yeah. So again, Glovia.com, a lot, Glovia.com. So here, this is another case study. Numerous currencies and pricing structure, the security of Glovia.com. Again, Glovia.com. Customer self-service was also an important factor in deciding on the application. Our products and pricing are different in each region. So their Glovia.com functionality is very rich because then you need the CPQ functionality where each region is going to have different constraints. So the CPQ needs to be very, very, very complicated. So again, these guys also bought because of Glovia.com, not because of ERP. Globally and sometimes by individual customers. So we could not simply have a public website with our pricing. They are talking about security of the site. Great. Business problem, keep precision and mass production at its height. TRB was looking for a solution that incorporated Kanban. And I have seen some of the terms like CBAN, and I don't know if you have CBAN or CIBAN. I don't know how you pronounce that. SEIBAN, I guess. And this is the first time I've seen something like that.
SIEBAN? No, I've never heard of it.
Yeah. So they have coined this term, and I don't know if it is coming from Japan, but they definitely have that. So some very interesting layers there. And maybe it is part of the electronics industry. Who knows? That could be a possibility because obviously they are very much into that mass production space. So here they are talking about seamless integration of the Kanban system in their ERP solution proved to be the deciding factor. So again, they are talking about the seamless integration, and that integration in general is very flaky. Okay. And if you're going to build that could be very expensive in general, and you need far more expertise to be able to pull it off. It's a very involved integration. Yeah. Now they are saying Kanban is used for the front end, and I don't know what that means, to be honest. I don't know if they are doing the issuing of the inventory from the e-commerce site. I don't know what's going on there. Why they would say front end, it's very tricky, but there is a possibility.
Unless they're meaning that their definition of Kanban here is something different than what a manufacturer would normally call it.
I mean, these are very serious manufacturing shops, so I can almost guarantee that they are probably, but sometimes the architecture could be all over the place just because they might feel that, I don't want my shop floor guys to use the ERP because it would be slightly more complex. So I am going to give them web interface, and maybe they have a little Kanban functionality built as part of their e-commerce site. So that could be the driver. Okay, so this we have seen in 3 cases, at least I know that 3 companies are going to be Honda certified, and Honda certified matters a lot because if you are not Honda certified, Honda is probably not going to do business with you. Okay, so if you are a distributor of Honda, you probably need to get the Honda certification because they need to make sure that you are able to comply with their quality processes. You are going to be part of their vendor ecosystem. So a lot of these things are actually driven by that. Okay, so we have seen in 4LN, they are very deep into, in fact, I mean, there is a clear divide in the market. Okay, some solutions are positioned only in Toyota. Some solutions do really well in the Honda ecosystem just because of the quality forecasting, SNOP processes. They are very different. So this one in 4LN as well as IQMS, right? IQMS. Those 3 are in the Honda ecosystem. Plax is very well positioned in the Toyota ecosystem, and then they develop the quality functionality for Ford as well. QAD is sort of all over the place, I guess. I don't know if they have all, but they are not very expressive in terms of where they are certified. Okay, and by the way, the EDI functionality is also very tricky in the automotive space. There are some vendors that might be able to provide this, but you need Honda compliant EDI. And they have their own sort of standard. So you need to have that as part of your solution. And if you don't have that, then Honda does not like that. I mean, see, they are only going to work with that can integrate with their EDI. So the market is very close, tight knit, and that's why you have so many different. Okay, so this is some background overall in terms of the implementation. So this is where they are saying roughly 1,000 worldwide. And then we have a little history of the Constellation software as well. They have 19,000 employees, can you believe? So it's a humongous company. Okay, they are Toronto based. It's publicly listed. $4.5 billion in revenue, can you believe? So very close to Infor. But they are sort of the ERP player, but they are not. They don't. I have not seen them as the mainstream ERP player. I have heard that they have a lot of different construction packages.
But this is, you're talking about Crescent One here, right? Not Glovia.
No, I was talking about the Constellation software. Can you see towards the bottom? So we have the Crescent one, and then we have the Constellation software as well. Towards the right, in
Oh,
the
I
bottom,
see. Okay.
right? So this is the Constellation software. This is much bigger. Crescent one is a very small company. Crescent one is the parent
Okay.
company.
Okay. I was getting misunderstood. Okay.
Yeah. So this is the parent company for the Glovia. Crescent one got sold to your Fujitsu, and then I think right now it's owned by Constellation Software. Constellation Software has a subsidiary. It's called Fog, and it's actually rolled into that. So as of September 2021, Crescent One is part of FOG and the Constellation family. FOG is an independent operating group of Constellation Software, which is listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange (TSX). CSI, and by the way, they have the term CSI. It's becoming so confusing right now.
Yeah.
Fog acquires, managers, and builds software companies. Very similar strategy. Yeah, so here they are talking about the history. The company was founded in 1995. Infor was founded in 1999, I believe, to assemble a portfolio of vertical market software companies. So these guys all started roughly around the same time. Infor
actually started around 2004, but that's okay.
2004, right, Andy?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for correcting that. You are right. Yeah. Salesforce was 1999, I believe.
You could be right.
Yeah. Leaders in there. So Infor has not been there in the market for that long, I guess. Can you believe that?
Infor had some. They prior to 2004, they had some other names they were called, and they evolved into Infor. But
Yep. But I mean, as part of this branding, the financial entity, and this is really a branding, marketing, and the financial consolidation play in my mind. So these all guys did that. Since then, they have grown rapidly through a combination of acquisition, organic growth. 4 billion is a lot. And I think we need to cover them one of these days, I guess. I don't know what they are into.
25,000 employees. Holy.
They have a lot. I mean, they have very similar business model as Infor. So we probably need to cover them. We definitely do.
It says in there, too, they've got 6 operating groups. So
yeah, it's probably going to be, I mean, they probably have 200 different products and under their portfolio. We need to figure out, what they are doing with them.
Yeah.
Okay. So it says FOG software. This is coming from 2022. So obviously this is a very recent development. Yeah, I don't have anything else here. Going to the next one. They actually have very similar color as Infor. It's red color. So this is coming from Glovia, right, Andy?
Yeah. I'm a little colorblind, so sometimes it catches me off guard. But yeah, you're right.
In this case, I mean, this is definitely close, Andy. So here, there is some correlation, and I don't know, whether this is a real correlation or not. But as you can see, Glovia OM, you can see Fujitsu. So maybe they try to acquire these two and try to integrate them together to make it the comprehensive offering. But you can see correlation right here that Fujitsu actually tried to acquire Glovia OM as well. And Glovia OM is that slick Salesforce solution. They are built, they were probably the ISV in the Salesforce ecosystem. And then, these guys ended up acquiring them and tried to sort of integrate, merge. So there is some history there. So Fujitsu's, and it very clearly says that, these two were owned by Fujitsu as well, right? OM has a heritage of over 50 plus years in the order management space. And OMS is what they are calling. OMS is a category in general. Okay, so OMS typically is going to be in that e-commerce play. The whole idea of that is going to be the providing that omni-channel experience, consolidating many different sort of channels, but that's not really ERP play. So again, I think they try to build that OMS on the Salesforce platform, and they try to integrate these two to provide that comprehensive offering. They are saying Glovia OM was rebuilt from the ground up from on-premise software to the cloud-based enterprise solution on the world's most trusted CRM platform. They mean Salesforce here, obviously. It's built on Salesforce, so obviously this was Salesforce ISV. But maybe Glovia, probably they had the on-premise software, but then they tried to build on top of Salesforce. So that's sort of the correlation there. Now, this is if you look at the look and feel of how the software is going to appear when you are going to look at the demo, it's going to have very Infor feel. It's going to have very app chain feel, where you are going to have a bunch of apps. They are trying to integrate all of this, towards the left. And this is they probably acquired a document management system as well. So this is a separate app that they try to integrate. Okay. So that's how you are seeing such a fancy UI. When you are going to look at the demo, it's going to be super cool. But this is
that's all it's got to be.
right. But this is a document management system, okay, that you are looking at. They are calling it as, FOG SharePoint. I don't know if they have the real SharePoint, or they have a document management system, but they are trying to create similar experience as your Infor app team.
That just looks like the standard SharePoint layout there, Sam. I mean, I can't be for sure, but that's my guess.
I think you are right. I think that's what they are trying to show, because even the user, even if you look at the option, this is all Microsoft. I mean, if I remember correctly, right? Right?
Yeah, I mean, that looks like stock Microsoft functionality right there.
Yeah, and I don't know what they did, whether they tried to integrate, but I mean, the only thing which is different here is going to be really your logo. So they probably try to integrate with the Microsoft 365 suite.
But, they do sell to Acme Manufacturing, which we all know is the company that makes those anvils that drop on Wile E. Coyote's head. With the road run.
It'll be interesting to see how they fare the pending recession, huh, Andy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's all foggy to me, apparently.
Yeah. But right now it is not foggy, Andy. Okay, this is really good. This is not fake.
No, it's so right there.
This is real.
Fog software, right there.
Yeah, I know. But the UI, it's really good. But again, this is not the ERP that you are looking at. And thank you so much for catching that. I think this is really. Now, some of the things that you are going to see here is very, very, very unique. And I think the only place where we have seen the program functionality was really in Plex solution, if I remember correctly. I'm pretty sure QAD is probably going to have that. If I remember correctly, I think probably they did. But I don't know how robust that was. But when you look at the program is going to be overarching layer from project. So typically project is going to be encapsulation of many different jobs as well as activities that you are performing. Sometimes those could be your field service tasks as well. But then program is going to be overarching costing that you are doing, because in the automotive companies, you have to track that. So I have never seen such clear program management functionality as part of the solution. I think IFS has that, but I don't know how clear and clean it is going to be in this particular case. At least the documentation is great. Right, Dave?
That's certainly more clear than their marketing information.
Exactly. So here they are saying Glovia G2 program is an entity that resides, and they are using the term entity, which is kind of confusing, because I don't think it's sort of the virtual entity in my mind, because you have to do a lot at the program level, because you are trying to track the cost, you are trying to plan at the program level. But again, this is not an entity. It should not be called sort of the financial entity. It's going to be that planning entity. And I don't know if you are going to the entity word there, but that's a very interesting, term that they have used. Yeah. Now, this is the contract and project definition diagram that they have. And again, mind-blowing capabilities, okay? And this is where I have seen a lot of software, some of the mainstream ones, struggling with the contract compliance functionality, because that drives a lot of things overall, okay? And here we are talking about the correlation of your contract to your project. Each project is going to have, many different tasks. Sometimes these tasks could be manufacturing jobs, okay? So each project is going to have a program. A contract could have many different projects. So it's a lot, and in this particular case, the contract, we could have the service, delivery, material, billing, and sales, and all of them could have the cost element. Okay. This is very, 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 very deep capability. And again, even the automotive solutions might not have this. So I'm kind of impressed overall in terms of the functionality that these have.
Yeah, this chart does imply it's a robust system for sure.
Okay, so now let's look at some of these screens. So obviously these screens are not going to be as pretty. We all know this. This is obviously outdated UI. but they have a lot of capability. So, for example, this is the contract management, and I don't think we have sort of reviewed the contract management capabilities in any of the solution, but this does get very deep. When you are going to be looking at this multi-year contract, that drives pretty much everything. That is going to drive the child projects. That is going to have your sort of the change order. It's going to have different payment terms. So it's a very, very, very deep functionality. And you are going to find this in solutions that are really designed for those OEM, and obviously in for Apicor, they are going to have a lot of this functionality. But the contract itself is a very deep functionality. Sometimes that does drive the ASC 606 compliance. Sometimes the financial folks struggle with that functionality, especially if it is not going to be built for the ASC 606. But in this particular case, again, this is very operationally rich functionality for these contracts. So here, obviously, you're going to have the agreement ID correlation, you have the category, you have the complications of leases, then how whether it is going to be partially built, full build. So there are a lot of different things that are going to be part of this one. By the way, they also have the TMS functionality. So they have the shipping and delivery functionality built as part of the solution as well. Again, mind-blowing piece of functionality.
Well, it implies from some of these fields that this system probably can handle rentals.
Exactly.
As well as repair and maintenance too.
It can do a lot. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Shockingly rich. And that's why probably, they probably need $1 billion to rewrite this in cloud.
Yeah.
That I don't know where they are going to find that money. And they have very, very rich planning functionality as well. Some of these things you are probably going to find in SAP. So they have demand pegging, they have order promising. Again, very rich functionality that you are probably only going to find in SAP or SAP-like solution. The way they have these stages, it's just fascinating. The way they have done. So you have the in allocation, they have the engineering review, then they have date review, planned, inventory release, in-pack issued, manufacturing release, started producing, manufacturing closed, financial close, which is very, very clear. Now, some of the Excel-centric capabilities are going to be, again, very similar to your Aptane and Infor, the way their data model is designed, especially the queries, so that you are going to get very similar look and feel, in terms of the capabilities.
Okay, so it says that users can tailor a preferred environment for themselves. So does this mean that they can add fields and delete fields and move things around, or does it say that?
Yeah, if you look at their customization screen, Andy, that's fairly easy, I would say. It has very SAP-like feeling. But again, this is very on-prem experience. Things are far harder in cloud. That's why you need $1 billion.
With a B.
Exactly. So this is where the delivery, the TMS functionality is there. Yeah. And again, this is very deep as well. They have the schedule date, they have the delivery quantity. A lot of systems will not have this. And they would probably recommend that you probably need to have TMS system to manage this, but these guys have definitely built this as part of the solution itself.
Are all these pieces all built into one core system, or do they have optional modules, or do you know?
From the pricing perspective, I don't know how they like to position, but they definitely seem to be part of the same solution. Obviously, it's very legacy, and I don't think they can probably segment it because it's going to be very tight code.
Right.
Take it or leave it. You can't buy pieces. Yeah, it's very outdated. I mean, you are probably going to get very IE5 feeling. But overall, from the organization perspective, it's very well organized, at least from the data model perspective, which is what I like. So here we have some reviews. So this is coming
good for manufacturing operations.
So let's pay attention to the review itself, I guess. So this is coming from the planning manager. This is coming from 2021. And here he is saying dig in required data and navigation is a nightmare, slow processing. I don't agree with this review, to be honest. The reason is maybe the problem is really with the reviewer, because obviously this is a very complex system. It's not designed for the smaller companies. So I guess this is going to be more of the training issue as opposed to the software issue.
EBS would have been an earlier version of Glovia. Am I right?
I think this user must be coming from Oracle EBS. That would be my understanding.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. That would be my understanding, but I could be off. I mean, that's what I would get. Here, he is saying planning module and MRP results, releasing work orders and booking sales orders. That's how it is benefiting him. Work order variance study is much easier as compared to ABS, and that is right. Okay, especially when you are going to look at any of the manufacturing systems, they are going to be extremely strong in bill of materials as well as costing. That's where their real secret sauce is. And that's why this user is liking the work order variance analysis, because they were really known for job costing. Job costing might not be as intuitive in some of the other systems that you're going to see. So that's what he's saying that. And again, EBS is designed for slightly more service-centric companies. It's not necessarily designed for the product-centric manufacturing company. And that's why this user found the variance and work order analysis to be slightly easier with this. And he's complaining that does not get auto-logged off like EBS. That could be internal IT, I guess. And I don't think that is fair comment. It could be their own IT that may have problems. Here we have one more, and this is coming from mining and metals. 51 to 200 employees, which is slightly off in my mind. So here this review is coming from 4 years ago, and he's saying, as with any of the shelf ERP software, it does include all generic modules a business needs to function. If you make widgets, you could probably get away with using the software as is. We are a job shop that produces custom make to order aluminum products, so we had to customize the software. Whenever there are patches, we need to track what we have done so we can make sure our customization. And I think the reason why this particular user may have struggled, and I know people sort of use these terms vaguely, make to order, make to stock, if you produce widgets, whatever. I don't think these guys are producing widgets. These guys are producing one of the bigger products, but they are probably not going to have as many layers from the variable inventory perspective. For metal segment, when you look at some of even the lighting segments, they are going to have a lot of different attributes that are going to be part of your inventory. You are not going to see those as many in the automotive aftermarket space. So this particular product is designed really for automotive OEMs as well as aftermarket. If you are mining in metal, supplier for automotive, this is probably not the right product for you. And this is where I guess Infor Visual is probably going to be a better fit, if my recollection is right, for this particular customer. So they chose the wrong software, and that's why they struggled with it and they tried to customize. And
Too
they are
much
saying
overhead, probably.
Yeah. So again, choose the right software for your industry, and in your industry also, you are
And
going
size.
to have it. Sorry,
And
Andy?
size.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, not just industry, but size as well.
Yeah, could not agree more. Okay, do we have more slide? I don't think. All right, so we'll open up for commentary. Comments?
I was just going to say, it's like every one of these systems that we evaluate every week. Every system has strengths. Every system has limitations. And before you get solidly into bed with one of these, buy one of these things, you really need to talk to companies that are similar to yourself, already doing the functionality, so you can learn from their experience as opposed to just relying on a sales demo, a sales pitch.
Yeah, great thoughts. Dave?
Yeah, I mean, that same thought was kind of running in my mind, even reading through that last comment. It's obviously hard to tell just based on the last review. It's hard to tell what the situation there was, but to Andy's point, it's exactly what I was thinking. Is I think this, out of many of the solutions we've seen, was a bit of a challenge to follow from kind of the genesis of, it's been around for a long time, but it's changed hands several times. That was confusing to follow. Some of the functionality, was maybe a little bit confusing to follow. So back to Andy's point, if you think that you found a potential solution, the best thing to do is ask for referrals that are real similar to me, in terms of my business.
Not just any company, ones that are similar to you.
Yeah, absolutely. To me as the company, and then, think through with your team internally about some of the core business process use cases that are maybe specific to you, that you can ask very pointed
And must
questions.
have, not so much nice to have, must have.
Yeah, but to be able to articulate and ask very pointed questions of the functionality, because I think that's where all of the truth comes to the surface. Because again, there are so many solutions out there, and it becomes a challenge to follow along with not just the genesis of it, how it became to be what it is today, and then you throw in, like, again, I know we talk about this, but like that one slide that called out, I think that was one of the most confusing slides we've seen, like out of all of these we've ever done. But it's, it calls out the Fujitsu, Glovia V2, and then it talks about how it's been redeveloped to be live on top of the world's leading CRM platform, and it's gone from on-prem to in cloud. I mean, it's just so confusing. That's the stuff to be mindful of, and not just picking on this solution. It just happens to be front of mind because we just went through.
The reality is that you're right. And we're not picking on this one specifically. This is with every ERP. When you're out there investigating systems, realize that, and when you're speaking to a reference, by the way, here's a trick for you. If that reference says that it is the most amazing system they've ever used in their life and they love it and it walks on water and it's a miracle, they are lying, okay? They're probably being paid to say something nice, because the reality is that every ERP has pros and cons.
Yep.
You want to uncover what the cons are. Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
Sorry, and then Sam, I'll stop talking so you can get your comments in. But one thing I wanted to say to that, Andy, beyond that they potentially could be getting paid, back to something that you say regularly, and I completely agree with, is the fact that you have to ask them the question: what other systems rather have you experienced, to understand, are we comparing this to like a QuickBooks? Yes. Are we comparing this to something that would be on par? So beyond the potential of this reference getting paid to say good things, understand what their other experience with the other types of platforms have been, so you can really gauge quickly where that person falls in terms of subject matter experts.
Absolutely correct. And Anders, I love your emoji.
Amazing comments, guys. So, Dave, I think the only thing I would like to touch, is the confusion overall, for the listeners as well, so that they are not confused. So a couple of things. Obviously, they have changed a lot of different hands, and that could come across as a red flag. I get it. And sometimes when the strategy is not going to be clear, whether you are really selling to an automotive OEM or are you selling to your, electronics OEM, because that would dictate which industries they are going to target, right? So in my mind, this is still a very automotive solution, okay? Their strategy was clear. I think OM is not a problem. OM, the reason why they have developed on top of Salesforce platform is to provide that e-commerce layer, which is not ERP. They have not developed ERP on top of CRM. That's not what they have done. Okay, it's only the e-commerce, the configurator. So I'm pretty sure they are probably utilizing Salesforce CPQ, for that. So that's a completely different component. ERP is still very legacy. Okay. Yeah. So their strategy is they are providing the integrated experience as the way other companies are going to provide. I don't know if that helps a little bit, overall from the confusion perspective.
No, I think it does. It just, to your point earlier, when you go through all of the different genesis of, changing hands, and then you're developing different solutions, but maybe commingling some of the marketing. And then, I think that's where it ends up becomes confusing for me. And if it's confusing for me, it's probably for sure confusing to people that, 100%. Don't talk about this on a regular basis. So.
Exactly.
I get confused pretty easily. So.
Well, yeah, that's what I said. I'm not that smart, you guys. I told you that before.
When it comes to ERP, nobody is smart, I guess. It's very, very, very hard to find these things.
I would run out of sticky notes to keep track of it all. So.
You guys are so funny. Okay, so we are at 6:30. 1 point. Any final comments, guys? Close. Thanks, all right, guys. So that's it for today. If you joined for the first time, this was part of our industry series for which we meet every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you guys are going to be here next week. We are going to come back with another solution or the vendor. On that note, thanks everyone for tuning in tonight. I cannot thank our guests enough for coming on the show, for sharing their knowledge and journey. I always pick up learnings from our guests, and hopefully you learned something new today. If you want to learn more about Dave Chrysler, head over to thechrysler.club. It's THECRYSLER.CLUB. If you want to learn more about Andy Pratico, head over to ESSoft.com. It's ESSOFT.com. Links and more information will also be available in the show notes. Also, don't forget to subscribe and spread the word among folks with similar backgrounds. If you have any questions or comments about the show, please review and rate us on your favorite podcasting platform or DM me on any social channels. I'll try my best to respond personally and make sure you get help. Thank you, and I hope to catch you on the next episode of the WBS Podcast.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the WBS Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. For more information on growth strategies for SMBs using ERP and digital transformation, check out our community at WBS.rocks. We'll see you next time.